I try to avoid that, but I think it's unavoidable.
You know, I can't do this forever. I've been doing it since I was 21. As you move into your 80s, you say, hey, that's enough.
Robert Redford's life was never just about Hollywood glamour. Behind the iconic roles and the awards, there were losses that weighed heavily on him, family tragedies, and a lingering sense that life was always shadowed by death. Now, as the world reflects on his final days, what was the true cause of the sadness that lingered in his final days? How will the world remember the man who gave so much to cinema, yet faced such sorrow in private? Join us as we look deeper into Robert Redford at 89, before his tragic death, and how he lived his final days in sadness. The Golden Boy with a shadowed soul. Not all golden lives shine without shadows, and Robert Redford's story totally proves it. Born under the bright California sun, he looked every bit the perfect blonde-haired surfer boy. But beneath the sun-kissed skin and charming smile was a shy, thoughtful man who used his looks not just to dazzle, but to tell stories that mattered. Dustin Hoffman once called him a walking surfboard, yet Redford was far more, a sensitive actor and filmmaker drawn to truth, justice, and the quiet struggles of life. Redford's rise began on Broadway in 1967, playing the nervous, newly married Paul Bratter in Neil Simon's Barefoot in the Park.
Oh, I work in the linotype room 2 nights a week.
You never quit, do you?
Audiences loved his tender, awkward charm, and the film version soon introduced him to Hollywood. In 1969, he found his breakout role as the Sundance Kid in Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid, co-starring with Paul Newman. Their chemistry created one of cinema's most memorable partnerships, which they later rekindled in the clever Depression-era tale The Sting, earning Redford his only Oscar nomination as an actor. That same year, Redford starred alongside Barbra Streisand in The Way We Were. Streisand described him as the blonde, suntanned California guy, surfing and riding horses. Directed by Sidney Pollack, the film began a collaboration that would last for 7 movies. Pollack called Redford a golden boy with a darkness in him, a phrase that captured the contrast at the heart of his career. Sunny looks masking a complex, introspective personality. Redford often chose films that reflected the mood of the nation. After Watergate and the Vietnam War, distrust in government was widespread, and Redford appeared in movies that captured this feeling. In 3 Days of the Condor, he played a quiet,
He wasn't in college when he didn't lift a finger for Spain.
Congress was isolationist.
CIA analyst thrown into a dangerous conspiracy. The following year, in All the President's Men, he portrayed real-life journalist Bob Woodward, helping reveal the Watergate scandal alongside Dustin Hoffman. Redford was instrumental in bringing the film to the screen, and its influence was so strong that some believe it helped sway the 1976 presidential election toward Jimmy Carter. Not content with acting, Redford turned to directing. His first film, Ordinary People, was a sensitive, emotional look at a family torn apart by grief. It won 4 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director, marking him as a serious filmmaker. Later films reflected his political and environmental concerns. The Milagro Beanfield War told the story of a small New Mexico village defending its land against powerful interests, while Quiz Show explored deception and truth in television.
Then it's stupid and dangerous.
What are you telling me to do? Sit by and shut up just because it's dangerous?
I'm telling you it's a waste. That's what I'm...
Even later in life, Redford continued to explore meaningful stories. Lions for Lambs examined America's war on terror through the lives of politicians, academics, and journalists. And in his 70s, he joined the Marvel Universe, playing Alexander Pierce in Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Avengers: Endgame. For younger audiences, it was a fresh introduction, while longtime fans saw echoes of his classic thrillers from the 1970s. Redford once explained, "The idea of the outlaw has always been very appealing to me. I think I was just born with it." That outlaw sensibility shaped his choices, his films, and his career. He was drawn to the gray, complicated parts of America, rather than the simple, patriotic image often expected. However, his beauty and talents could not save him from the pain and sadness that haunted his last days. What could have been so profound to make his last days on Earth tragic? A devastating loss. Robert spent the final years of his life in sorrow, mourning the loss of his son, James Redford, in 2020. Though he had always carried a sunny California charm, those closest to him noticed a deep, lingering sadness that followed him like a shadow. There was an intense sadness to him after his son died a few years ago, a waiter from a local restaurant recalled. Bob talked about how much he missed his son. It was heartbreaking for him. Despite his grief, Redford remained personable and warm. He was a regular at the restaurant, often visiting weekly with his wife, Sybil Zaggers, and friends. Yet even amid laughter and conversation, those around him could sense the emptiness he carried. He felt like a part of him had been lost. It was hard for him to live without his boy.
I said, well, yeah, I can do that, but I'm much more drawn to the Sundance Kid.
Another insider explained. Robert Redford was a father of 4. With his first wife, Lola Van Wagenen, he had sons Scott Anthony and James, and daughters Shauna Jean and Amy Hart. Tragedy touched the family early. Their first son, Scott Anthony, died at just 2 months old from SIDS. Decades later, James became a central figure in Redford's life, only to pass away at the age of 58 on October 16, 2020, after a battle with bile duct cancer. He and his wife, Kyle Redford, had 2 children before his death, leaving Robert a grieving grandfather as well. Even as the world remembered him for his iconic roles,
Woodcock. Hey, Woodcock, you all right? Hey.
Redford's personal life was marked by these profound family tragedies. Known for his sensitive and thoughtful nature, he navigated his grief quietly, often shielding it from the public eye. His home in Sundance, Utah, where he eventually passed away peacefully in his sleep on September 16th, reflected a life dedicated both to art and to family, even in sorrow. Even in his later years, he remained active in storytelling, appearing in modern films like Captain America, The Winter Soldier, and Avengers, Endgame, bringing his gravitas to a new generation of audiences. Yet behind the silver screen persona, those closest to him witnessed the quiet grief of a father who had loved deeply and lost profoundly. Despite the darkness that surrounded the days before death, Robert left a legacy that would forever be spoken about in the entertainment industry. What are some of these timeless legacies? More than a golden face. Like many actors in late 1950s New York, Redford began with small stage and television roles, appearing in series such as The Untouchables, Perry Mason, and Dr. Kildare. His first film role came in 1960 with Tall Story, where he shared the screen with Jane Fonda. The film failed at the box office, but it marked the start of a lifelong friendship with Fonda, who later admitted she fell for him each time they worked together. Redford's breakthrough came with Inside Daisy Clover, opposite Natalie Wood, which began to showcase his natural charisma.
What's the matter with you? You want to be a singer or something?
What's the matter with wanting to be a singer or something? Don't you want to be anything?
And screen presence. His all-American good looks were impossible to ignore. He was once described as a chunk of Mount Rushmore levered into stone-washed denims, and another critic noted his fluid physical grace and an inner radiance that sometimes makes it seem as if he's lit from within. Yet Redford often downplayed his beauty, suggesting that his physical fortune brought challenges and even karmic consequences in his family life. Success allowed Redford to pick his projects, often reflecting his liberal political views. He campaigned for environmental issues and the rights of Native Americans, using his fame to draw attention to causes he cared about. Over decades, he appeared in more than 50 Hollywood films.
Oh, I work in the linotype room 2 nights a week.
You never quit, do you?
Winning acclaim both as an actor and later as a director. His 1980 film Ordinary People earned him an Oscar for Best Director, cementing his reputation as a serious storyteller. Beyond his work on screen, Redford made a lasting mark as a champion of independent filmmakers. He founded the annual Sundance Film Festival, creating a platform for emerging talent and transforming the landscape of American cinema. His influence extended far beyond Hollywood's glossy surface, blending artistry, activism, and mentorship. Aside from his talent and good looks, what was it about him that kept his audience hooked? The golden mystery of Hollywood. Observers often noted that there was always a sense of mystery around Robert Redford because he didn't reveal much about himself. His quiet, magnetic presence became a defining trait of his long and varied career. Even as his career rose, Redford encountered setbacks. He was passed over for the role of Benjamin Braddock in The Graduate, as the director considered him too good-looking, which made Redford cautious about being stereotyped by his appearance. His striking all-American looks were both a blessing and a challenge. Global fame arrived in 1969 with Butch Cassidy and The Sundance Kid. At 33, Redford's laid-back portrayal of the Sundance Kid contrasted perfectly with Paul Newman's fast-talking Butch, forming one of Hollywood's most celebrated on-screen partnerships.
He wasn't in college when he didn't lift a finger for Spain.
Congress was isolationist.
Ironically, he almost missed the part after a studio executive dismissed him as just another Hollywood blonde. It was Newman, already a major star, who insisted on casting Redford, a decision that would become iconic. Redford and Newman quickly discovered a shared love of theater and maintained a playful camaraderie, often pranking each other on set. Their friendship endured for decades, surviving the ups and downs of Hollywood, and remained strong until Newman's death in 2008. Together they helped define a period of films that were stylish, witty, and enduring. During this time, Redford demonstrated that he was more than a handsome face.
Do you think if I come back it's going to be okay by magic? What's going to be changed? What's going to be different?
He was thoughtful, introspective, and careful in choosing projects that resonated with his political and social values. His success allowed him to pursue roles and causes aligned with his liberal views, campaigning for environmental issues and advocating for the rights of Native Americans. Later, he became a mentor for independent filmmakers through the Sundance Film Festival, giving a platform to emerging talent and reshaping American cinema. Despite his fame, Redford retained an air of quiet intensity.
Well, you make fun of politicians. What else can you do?
You think Franco is so funny?
Critics often noted his fluid physical grace and the inner radiance that seemed to shine from within. Yet he sometimes considered his beauty a hindrance, believing that the personal tragedies in his life were karmic consequences of his good fortune. From the stages of Broadway to Hollywood screens, Robert Redford's journey was defined by charm, talent, and thoughtful choices. He navigated setbacks, nurtured deep friendships, and pursued meaningful artistic work, which made him admired not just for his looks, but for his integrity and quiet magnetism. However, Robert was more than just a good-looking actor with a brooding personality. What other attributes made him loved worldwide? From silver screen charm to Hollywood visionary. In 1973, Robert Redford reunited with Paul Newman on screen in The Sting, a film that showcased the natural chemistry the two actors had developed. Redford received an Oscar nomination for his role as Johnny Hooker, a small-time grifter who teams up with Newman's character to swindle a ruthless crime boss.
Here it's a foreign country. He can't take you back either.
He's not going to take anybody back. He wants to finish us here.
The film, notable for its distinctive ragtime soundtrack, eventually won 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Although Redford did not win Best Actor, losing to Jack Lemmon, it marked the only time he was nominated in that category. Later, he would win an Oscar as a director and receive an honorary Oscar in 2002. During the 1970s, Redford's acting roles were prolific and diverse. Some performances received mixed reviews, such as his enigmatic turn as Gatsby in The Great Gatsby, while in The Way We Were, he was occasionally overshadowed by Barbra Streisand. Nevertheless, his appeal remained undeniable, and his choices reflected both his talent and his careful approach to his career. In 1974, Redford took a bold step by purchasing the film rights to All the President's Men, the account of the Watergate scandal by journalists Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. He recalled that the reporters were initially nervous about Hollywood adapting their story, fearing that it could misrepresent their work. Redford's determination ensured that the project moved forward. Released in 1976, Redford portrayed Woodward alongside Dustin Hoffman as Bernstein. The film achieved critical acclaim, winning 4 Oscars, including Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor for Jason Robards, and it cemented Redford's reputation as a serious and influential figure in Hollywood. These years highlighted Redford's ability to balance charm with substance. While he was often noted for his all-American good looks and fluid physical grace, he chose roles that resonated with deeper social and political themes. His success gave him freedom to pursue projects reflecting his values, and he increasingly combined his acting career with activism, championing environmental causes and advocating for Native American rights. Beyond acting, Redford began to shape the film industry itself. He became a mentor to emerging filmmakers, founding the annual Sundance Film Festival to give independent talent a platform. This initiative reflected his belief in storytelling that challenged conventions and addressed meaningful subjects. Through Sundance, Redford influenced generations of filmmakers, ensuring that independent cinema received recognition alongside mainstream Hollywood productions.
James Hillman, it's called The Soul's Code, and he talks about this thing called the acorn, something you were meant to do or be.
Redford's career during this period exemplified the balance that defined his life, a mix of charisma and thoughtfulness, public recognition, and private reflection. Though often admired for his appearance, he considered his beauty both a blessing and a complication, and he frequently sought projects with depth rather than superficial glamour. From his early Broadway days to his iconic screen partnerships with Newman and collaborations with stars like Barbra Streisand, Redford combined talent, insight, and careful choices to craft a career that was as meaningful as it was successful. His influence extended beyond the screen into activism and mentorship, solidifying his legacy not just as a Hollywood icon, but as a visionary who shaped the art of film itself. But that was not even half of his accomplishments. A man of many achievements. In 1980, Robert Redford made his directorial debut with Ordinary People, a moving study of a middle-class family struggling after the death of one of their sons. The film earned him his first and only Oscar as a director, confirming his talent behind the camera as well as in front of it. With recognition came wealth, and Redford used much of his earnings to purchase a ski resort in Utah, his wife's home state. He renamed it Sundance, in homage to one of his most famous roles. Around the same time, he founded the Sundance Institute to provide creative and financial support to independent filmmakers. He later became chairman of the Utah/US Film Festival, which was eventually renamed the Sundance Film Festival. Over time, the festival grew into a major event on the global film calendar, showcasing the work of directors who would later become household names, including Quentin Tarantino and Steven Soderbergh. In acting, Redford experienced both triumphs and setbacks during the last 2 decades of the 20th century. Brubaker, a prison drama, was both a critical and commercial success, and popular dramas like The Horse Whisperer and Indecent Proposal were well received.
You did. And then I had to wait for 2 years before I could get the money to build my own house, which I did.
Out of Africa earned numerous awards, but Havana was poorly received and failed at the box office. Meanwhile, Redford continued to direct films that reflected his artistic sensibilities. A River Runs Through It provided a breakthrough for a young Brad Pitt, while The Legend of Bagger Vance marked the final film appearance of Jack Lemmon. Some of his later directorial efforts received muted reactions, such as Lions for Lambs, which reunited him with Meryl Streep from Out of Africa. However, critics widely praised his performance in All Is Lost, a minimalist film about an elderly yachtsman alone on a damaged boat in the Indian Ocean. Redford was the only actor on screen, and critics described it as, perhaps, the finest performance of his career. He also ventured into new territory with mainstream franchises, portraying SHIELD agent Alexander Pierce in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Redford explained that he enjoyed stepping into unfamiliar roles and found it exciting to be part of a film he would have loved to see as a child. Away from the studio, Redford became a vocal advocate for environmental issues. In interviews, he spoke passionately about the state of the planet, describing it as sick due to human behavior and emphasizing the urgent need to protect and restore it. His activism complemented his filmmaking, reflecting a lifelong commitment to social responsibility and awareness. Through decades of acting, directing, and advocacy, Redford built a career that balanced commercial success with artistic integrity. He navigated Hollywood's challenges, fostered new talent, and consistently used his platform to highlight meaningful issues. The Sundance Film Festival became a lasting testament to his dedication to independent cinema.
I was just kind of wondering why your name and phone number were in the address books of two of the men arrested at Watergate.
While his environmental work demonstrated that his concern extended far beyond the screen. Robert Redford's legacy is multifaceted: a handsome, magnetic actor, a visionary director, and a mentor who nurtured generations of filmmakers. Whether portraying complex characters, guiding a film festival, or championing environmental causes, he left an indelible mark on both cinema and society, proving that fame and artistry could coexist with purpose and conscience. While he is known worldwide for his online achievements, what was his life like beyond the spotlight? Scandals of a golden boy. Robert Redford's life in Hollywood was never just about charm and good looks. Behind the golden smile and sun-kissed hair, there were scandals, disappointments, and choices that showed a more complicated man than the polished star on magazine covers. From the start, Redford was admired for his flawless image. He seemed like the perfect mix of a clean-cut American jock and a free spirit. Yet the roles that made him famous often carried scandalous undertones. In Inside Daisy Clover, he dared to play a bisexual character, a shocking move in the 1960s when Hollywood avoided such risks. The decision stirred whispers about his willingness to push boundaries, though many felt he still held back, hiding behind his aloof charm. Then came the tension-filled Projects. This Property Is Condemned, adapted from Tennessee Williams, was full of uncomfortable themes, including a strange air of incest that lingered throughout the film.
James Hillman, and it's called The Soul's Code, and he talks about this thing called the acorn, which is something you were meant to do or be.
Redford's cold, distant performance only added to the unease, making him the attractive but heartless man women fell for at their own risk. It was a scandal wrapped in beauty. His breakout as Sundance in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in 1969 added another layer. The film was loved, but critics labeled it a glorified vacuum, suggesting it was more about looks and gloss than substance. Some even called it a cheat, saying Redford was just playing himself, handsome, detached, untouchable. But audiences didn't care. The scandal here wasn't sex or affairs. It was the idea that Hollywood's golden boy could get away with giving so little while earning so much admiration. The most biting scandal came with The Great Gatsby in 1974. Redford was expected to be the perfect Jay Gatsby, the man chasing wealth and forbidden love. Instead, the movie fell flat, leaving audiences disappointed. People whispered that Redford's coolness had drained the story of passion, turning one of America's most scandalous novels into an empty shell. Critics accused him of being too stiff, too careful, too afraid to bare his soul. His personal image was another puzzle.
What's really interesting, though, that I don't know how many people have picked up in terms of Paul Newman and I, is that when we did Butch Cassidy,
in a time when stars like Warren Beatty bragged about conquests, Redford appeared as the safe sex symbol. Magazines painted him as the faithful husband, the loving father, the normal man who hated publicity. Yet this squeaky clean picture clashed with the Hollywood machine around him. To some, the real scandal was that Redford had mastered the art of appearing flawless, even when the films showed cracks in his perfection. By the late 1970s, Redford reinvented himself with directing, winning an Oscar for Ordinary People. But the gossip never faded. Was he truly talented, or just a golden face hiding behind safe choices? Was his cool detachment a strength, or a mask to cover the fact that he rarely took real risks? Regardless of the gossip, whispers, and scandals that followed Robert Redford through his long Hollywood journey, his legacy remains untouchable. He was more than a handsome face or a headline. He was a visionary who reshaped cinema, a storyteller who gave voice to deeper truths, and a mentor who built platforms for new talent. In the end, his brilliance on and off the screen ensures his name will shine forever. Do you think Robert Redford's polished image helped him rise higher in Hollywood, or did it secretly hold him back? Was his greatest scandal the roles he played on screen, or the carefully guarded life he lived off it? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.